I want to say welcome. It's been a couple of weeks since we got to connect with Curtis Broom or Lisa Grossman, and so I'm very excited that Google is up and working properly today. We apologize. We tried really hard last week to get the Hangout to air, and it wouldn't let us broadcast. So, but today Curtis is with us, and he's going to share some good information. So it's going to be like we didn't even miss out, right, Curtis?
That's it. In fact, we're going to pick up where we left off from the last one, where we've done the first part of the hot market. Now I'm going to go through the second part. It has been fun. It's been great chatting with you. We just got back. We were spent a week in, and then when Google screwed up last week, I was going to re-record. The very next day, we were flying out to Antalya, Turkey, and we just weren't able to get anything to function over there. So it was kind of bizarre. Anyway, but we're back now. So we flew back in Monday night from Turkey, and tomorrow morning at 8:50 we fly out to Asia for 4 weeks, and we'll be in Hong Kong, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia during that 4 weeks. So it's going to be fun. So what's really going to happen is probably starting next week. What we'll do is we'll coordinate with you. We're probably going to do some calls instead. We've got an instant teleseminar system where people actually can plug into it. There are local dial-in numbers throughout the U.S., Canada, Australia, the UK, but there's also the ability to plug in via Skype. So people from around the world can kind of plug in at no cost. And what we'll do is we'll do some recorded calls where we'll continue to talk through some of the concepts and the theories. But you'll get links, and you can post the links in the True Believers in the Google brand page area. You can post them, on the Facebook groups, so people can still access that recorded information, and we can just continue kind of the flow on through. So because we're going to be traveling so extensively over the next 4 weeks, it might be better at some point to occasionally just do a call and let everybody plug into that, or listen to the recording if they can't be there live. So
awesome! I'm excited. You know what? I look at you and Lisa and all your travels, and I get exhausted when I have to drive 4 days in a row, 3 hours one way or another, just to go do a meeting and to connect with people. So I listen. You guys are keen. I bow.
Well, we just take taxis. Our taxis just have very long wings and big engines. Beyond that, it's just taxi drivers.
That's right. Well, I'm going to try it, and I'm going to turn it over to you because everybody's messaging on Facebook, and they're like, we're so excited, we're so excited. So they're all thrilled. You have a great audience.
Cool. Well, in fact, I'm going to turn on the Q&A right now. Actually, let me cancel out of this. I was getting ready to start a screen share. Let me come over here and activate the Q&A. So the Q&A is up. So if anybody wants to fire some as we go, you're asking a great deal of a guy who's really not that technical. So it's like I'm going to be the one-man band spinning plates. So I'll see if I can pay attention to questions at the same time let me do this. You guys just go through this. Just fire out your questions in the question section. I'm going to finish the drawing part. So we've got between the last Hangout and this one, the last one we actually did 2 weeks ago, and this one, we'll have the complete drawn picture based upon the Hangout conversation Lisa had originally. So everybody's got the diagram. Once we go through the diagram, then I'll come back and we'll start dealing with questions, and then this will set the stage for all the stuff we're going to do over the few weeks ahead. So sound like a deal?
It sounds good to me. I'm going to mute me because I have some background noise in the house, so I'm going to mute me, and I'm just going to turn it over to you so I don't interrupt you.
All right, not a problem, and then I'll yell at you if I need you to come off mute for that wonderful moral support you give. Okay, gang, so here we go. This is where we kind of finished last time. I was in fact, what I did is I went back and I looked at the Hangout a couple of weeks ago and took a look at what we had drawn and where we kind of stopped. And so I'm just going to assume you saw that. If you're just here for the first time, everything you're seeing right here was actually discussed in the previous Hangout we did 2 weeks ago. So just go back to that Hangout that is recorded. It's available on the brand page. You can scroll down, take a look at the date, whatever that was 2 weeks ago, and you'll see this part. So you'll understand what this means. In fact, there was some additional stuff on that drawing that I've since erased because we're now going to take this core part of it and we're going to move from the hot market success, which happens, as we say here, this part happens in the first 24 to 72 hours right here, where you take that product that you initially incurred, or, for some of you, the program that you're involved in, now all of this was based on product. We can talk about how you adjust this approach for services. We'll do that when we're done completely. Let's deal with product. since I know a majority of you are dealing with physical product. But in some of the companies you're in, some companies you actually purchase an initial inventory, like $500 or $1,000 packages. Some you only purchase your own personal use and go straight to consumers. This technique, the hot market technique, still does the same thing. The purpose is, again, real quick review, from the moment you enroll, the first step of business is you've incurred an expense. The second stage, you want to get to break even. Well, if you've only purchased your own personal quantity, you still want to follow this methodology. But let's pretend someone invested or had an initial expense of the gold package, the platinum package, whatever it is, the Grand Poobah professional package of $1,000 or so of product. You don't want to sell. We're not about selling. We're about giving people a choice. We want to move product and convert that product back into money as quickly as possible. Following the hot market system, which we discussed previously, you can go back and review how that happens. It's following actual scripts. You can't mess it up. Within 24 to 72 hours, you can move all of that product for payment and receive the ability to get all of your money back and break even in that first 24 or 72 hours with no previous experience whatsoever, following a simple methodology. That's the purpose of the hot system. Someone enrolls, which is the first step of business, incurring an expense, or even if you didn't incur an expense for product beyond your personal use, you still want to move an initial set of product. You want to create those first 10 to 15 or whatever it is trial consumers. If you've got a lot of people you really love, that may be 30 trial consumers. You want to get that group initially really quick in those first 1 to 3 days. Now you've achieved break even if you did have an initial package expense. If not, you are directly into stage 3 profit, but you've got a consumer group. The product experience will turn them into long-term consumers, or what we call customers. If they just experience the product one time to support you in starting a business, that's a great benefit. You've got your money back, and you have a success story of how you started a business with no previous experience, developed a consumer group immediately with very little effort and no selling. You just moved product. Now, what we want to do is, this story is the key. This process to begin with is a key for 2 reasons. One, the most successful people in our profession are great at 3 things. They are great at asking questions. They are great at listening. They can ask questions. They're very good at listening. And number 3, they're very good at telling. Goodness gracious, you can see why I should have been. Okay. You can see probably why at some point in my career I should have been a doctor, because goodness gracious, couldn't write to save my fanny today. So, stories. Okay, there you go. They're great at telling stories. That's it. The top income earners in our profession, that's what they do. They ask questions, they listen, they tell stories. The purpose of a leader, and anybody who's, and if you're brand new and it's the first person enrolling on your team, they're now your team member and you're leading. The most important thing is you have to develop trust. You have to trust your key advanced top-tier leadership, and you want your new team members to trust you. Even if you're brand new, if you do this rapidly, as people join your team, when they enroll, when you walk them through this and they have that same rapid success of converting product back into money, an initial trial consumer group, they've moved at least to break even, if not already starting into profit, what's happened is you've turned a hope and a prayer that their decision was not a bad one into trust and belief, confidence. You created confidence. Here's now what happens. The reason it is not about selling. The biggest challenge people face is they think they need to know everything about everything. They need to know everything about the product before they can start. They need to know everything about the comp plan before they can start. That's just not true. They think that because they think it is about, and you've heard us say this before, but here it is drawn out, they think it's about, in their mind, they're saying this is all about me. I have to know about the product. I have to know about the comp plan, because when I speak, since I think it's about selling, I need to be interesting because it's about me. It's not about me. It's not about you. It is about, in network marketing, it is about them, the other person. You do not have to be interesting. You have to be interested in them. And you do that by doing something that is natural from the age of 18. We are masters of it. That is not doing a presentation. Selling is a presentation of information, and you got to be very skilled to be successful at selling. Instead, you need to have a conversation with them about them. It's all about them. You don't have to be an expert in anything to have a conversation with others about them. Because in this conversation, you're going to focus on these two things. You're going to focus on asking questions, what we call the 3 primary questions. Okay? In the conversation, the 3 key questions are, number 1, are you, hello, that's supposed to be PPY, are you happy? Now, by the way, you don't actually ask these 3 questions. You don't walk up and say, hi, Angel, I'd like to ask you 3 questions real quick. Got a checklist here, need to get through that. Please pay attention. You don't do that. This is in conversation. During the conversation, you want to steer the conversation so through asking things. So what's going on in life? How are you doing? How are things going? What all's been happening? And then you can start to direct the conversation through these themes. Well, I had somebody ask me 6 months ago, really a question that caught me off guard. They just, a good friend of mine, they just asked straight up, as we were just talking about life. We were just catching up like you and I are, and they just asked, they said, Curtis, I'm curious, are you happy? Are you satisfied and content? Are you getting everything out of life that you and those you love, thought you'd have by this point in your life? And it caught me off guard. It realized that I really didn't. Have you ever felt like that? That's just a way that you can work into the conversation. Have you ever felt like I felt? That way they don't feel uncomfortable. They can say, it's very easy. You already said you were feeling very uncomfortable with life. And if they don't have to feel like a freak. They can say, yeah, I'm just like you. Sure, I felt that way. In other words, that's the point of conversation. So that in the conversation you can find out where people are. The reality is 99.999% of the people know they're not satisfied and content. Even if they're wealthy, they're still trying to create a greater impact and contribution. They're trying to be more significant. Well, there's another way to be significant. How about if you join this team and we help other people change their lives? You can be really significant. Do you have a plan to go from, no, I'm not getting everything out of life I want, to, yeah, I've got everything I want? Do you even know what everything you want is? We'll talk about that. What are the real whys? We'll do that in the future, not the dream boards and the big vacations and big yachts and big homes and big cars, which nobody can relate to because 99% of the people have never been on a yacht. They've never been in a Rolls Royce. They've never stood in a multimillionaire's mansion. They don't have any concept of. They've never been on a cruise. They don't know what the beaches. There's no connection to that. So we'll talk about dream boards versus true understandings of what are the real desires that drive people in a committed fashion. We'll do that in the future. But in essence, what I'm saying is here, well, okay, if you're not where you want to be, we're never going to get there without a plan. Do you have one? And the reality is most don't. So that all you're trying to do is here in the hot market, I'm giving people a choice. Would you like to help me one time or not? Yes or no? And most will say yes. Great. I've successfully completed my hot market trial. Great. Would you like to see one? Would you like to see a plan? I don't care what you choose to do with it. I just want to give you a choice to say either no, don't want to see it. Yep, I do want to see it. No pressure here. Not going to shove it down your throat. And here's one of the greatest lines in this third question. Lisa's a master of it. She's a big believer in tell the truth up front, set the proper expectation, and everybody wins long term. Well, Angel, would you like to see a plan? That's the question somebody asked me. They asked me if I wasn't where I wanted to be in life, did I have a plan that I was following to get there? And I realized I wasn't. But boy, the last 6 months has just been incredible. It's been a real blessing in my life, just been amazing. And then you can almost be quiet for a minute. It'll drive them nuts. Well, what's been amazing? Well, they asked me if I'd like to see a plan, and I took a look at it. And it really changed. It opened my mind. In fact, would you like to see one? And here's what Lisa follows up with immediately to manage the expectation. She says, it's probably not for you. Now, why does she say that? Because it's probably not for them. Not everybody should be a doctor. Not everybody should be a truck driver. Not everybody should be a network marketer. The reality is only about 1 out of 4. 7 or 8 out of 10, network marketing is probably not the best plan for just due to their unique circumstances. For 2 to 3 out of 10, it is. So just know that going in, the majority of people should say no. So it's probably not for them. So don't be upset when people look at something and say, that's just not for me. Okay, great. 3 out of 10 can make you massively wealthy. Just talk to a bunch of people and let them choose. And for some people who choose that it's not for them right now, because you treated them with respect, something will change in their life, and you can follow up with them every 3 months or so and say, I'd just love to get your feedback and have you take a look at where I am in my business. I know it's not for you, but maybe you could give me some ideas. I really appreciated and respected your insight and your questions, and maybe you can help me succeed, because 3 and 6 months from now may be a better time for them. So no just means no right now. So here's what Lisa says. Well, would you like to see a plan? It's probably not for you, though I'm sure you'll love the product. Everybody does. Boom. You know what that is? That's called a subliminal plant. Because they probably would love the product, because everybody does. Because assuming you've been wise in selecting your company, if you're a product-driven company, even if it's a service, if you selected your product or service because you liked it, then hopefully you did enough evaluation to realize this is a great product for everybody. The business is only for a few, I get that, but the product could be, if you don't believe that, what are you doing in the business, and why did you pick that? Go leave that one, go find another company with a product you can connect with, a product or service. So what Lisa does, she just tells the truth. Look, would you like to see a plan? Look, it's probably not for you. I'm sure you'll love the product, everybody does, but if you do see what I saw together, I think we can make a great team and really help each other be really successful. But if it's not for you, hey, that's fine. At the very least, then you can check this off, and you'll be in the mode of plan finding, which you need to do because you deserve to be happy. And if this isn't, this is the right plan for me. But if it's not the right plan for you, then great. At least you'll be on the road to finding the right plan. So I think you can win either way. So would you like to take a look? Give me an hour just to see before you make a decision. And using that kind of an approach, you'll get most people to say yes. In other words, I've sometimes been very direct with people and said, by the way, as we go through this process, Angel, I want you to understand I'm really not trying to get you to say yes or no. I don't really care whether you choose yes or no. What I do care about is that you understand what you're about to see the way I understand it, the way I understood it when I make my decision, because when you understand it the way I do, then if no is the correct answer for you, that's great. And if yes is the correct answer for you, that's great, but I'll leave that to you. But let me tell you my story of what happened to me in my first 24 to 72 hours when I first got started. See, that's why we start new people right away with this hot market process to create this immediate success story. Because now, right here, when they go prospect, in conversation, they can say, listen, if I want to share something with you that's happened to me. I had someone ask me if a few months back if I had everything in life, and I realized I just didn't. I was frustrated, but I didn't know where I was going to turn. And I figured this was just life. By the time you get our age, I figure it's just life. It is what it is, and you just move on through it and try and help your kids the best you can, and that's just the way life is. And then they asked me if I had a plan to create a better life, and I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. And they showed me a plan. Now I'd love to show it to you. It's a perfect plan for me. It probably isn't for you. I'm sure you'll love the product. Everybody does, but if it is for you, if you do see what I saw, I think we can team up and do great. But if not, at least it'll give you an idea of what it's like to go look at plans. Let me tell you what happened to me in my first 24, 72 hours. It's just, the whole thing is a story. The entire process is having a conversation focused on them, finding out about them, and creating an opportunity to say, would you just like to see something? Don't care what you pick. I just want you to understand it before you pick. You see, here's the perspective you should have. For someone to say yes to something because they saw a few circles in a presentation and got real excited, that's kind of silly. For somebody to say no to something they haven't even looked at, that's just downright stupid. The smartest and most successful people in the world look at everything. That's why they're the smartest, most successful people. They're smart because they looked. They are very careful about what they select, and they say no to most things. But they look at everything because that's what smart, successful people do. And I've even said that to folks. Listen, Angel, I just thought you were smarter than that. And I don't mean to be harsh, but I'm not asking you to do something you don't believe is right for you, but I think it's just downright stupid to say no to something you don't understand. Smart people, they make sure they understand it before they say no. I'm not asking you to do something. I'm asking, would you like, you're the one who told me you don't have everything in life you want. You didn't have a plan. This probably isn't for you. I've already told you that. But you'll never know unless you look. And I care about you and love you enough. I just want you to get on the path to finding a plan. Let me tell you what happened to me in my first 3 days. And I've never done anything like this. So I know this plan is perfect for me. May not be for you, but listen to what happened to me. Tell the story. Open their mind, their imagination, and then let them choose. And if they say, nope, I just don't want to waste time looking at that, great. At least I want you to know that I hope you find your plan. So tell me what's going on with your cousin. I hear she's pregnant. And just move on the conversation. Don't ruin a relationship. Give them a choice. Respect their choice. But if they say, wow, you did that in your first 2 or 3 days? Yep, I sure did. You, really? Wow. Okay. On second thought, let me take a look. And then you don't have to know anything about anything, because then you don't tell them, you point them at what we like to call the information circle. The information circle is a process that is with your company, whatever that is, with your leadership, whoever they are. It's, what do you normally do? What is your team process? And every company, every team has one. Even if they're brand new, just getting started, then you start with something. They have a video on the website, or go to the website and check this out, or watch this DVD. Here, I'll hand it to you, and then when will you watch it? Because I'm actually supposed to give this to somebody tomorrow afternoon, but I'll give it to you tonight if you'll watch it, and I'll come pick it up in the morning. Whatever your concept is, you don't have to be the expert on the product or the company, because those are facts, and other people can do a much better job. In fact, the true key to success is, even if you're $1 million a year earner, you don't give them that information, because that's not duplicable. You can't be there when you want one day to have a team that's bringing on 10,000 new people a month. Well, you can't personally be there for all 10,000. So you want something that's perfectly duplicable by everybody on the team. What's that? Everybody, whether they're brand new or a top income earner, can hand somebody the DVD. So you want the action, the information circle action, to be identical and the same, because it's not being perfect with everyone. A system that everyone is following is what creates perfection, because then you learn your numbers. People are not numbers, but it is a numbers game, and I can eventually figure out that, hey, you know something? If I show this DVD to 100 people, 43 will actually watch it. Of the 43 who watch it, 28 will take my follow-up call. The 28 will take my follow-up call. Then 16 will get on a 3-way call, and 12 will actually go to a meeting, and 12 go to the meeting. Then 3 or 4 will sign up. In other words, I just know my numbers. So then the brand new person has no complicated effort. They have a conversation, ask some questions, tell their story, point people at an information circle. And during this process of evaluating information, people are going to have questions. The new person does not answer them. The experienced person does not answer them. They point them to other things to answer them. Point them back to the website. Point them to another team member. Put them on a 3-way call. Point them to another DVD that talks just about the product, or something else that's about the science, or something else about something else, anything else. Keep pointing them at information, or plugging them in through 3-way calls, or taking them to a meeting, or putting them on a conference call, or taking them to a hangout, or showing them a recorded webinar. Whatever you do, you keep pointing them at the information circle, so that once they have the information and they have their questions answered, one of two things is going to happen. It's time to make a decision. So, did you see what I saw? Are you getting ready to join this team or not? Well, I understand it now. I've got all the information, and you know something, it's not for me. Well, great. Let's get you on a customer kind of a program, because during your process, you know this is a great product. Like I told you, I knew you'd love the product. Everybody does. Let's set you up on a preferred customer program. So, boom, there you go. Not everybody will do it, but you'll get some preferred customers if you treat them with respect. Then, again, this is 7 to 8 out of 10, 2 to 3 out of 10. We'll say, sure, I think I'm ready to go. What happens? Boom, you plug them in. And the brand new person completed their hot market, had conversations about other people, in the conversations weaved in the 3 themes, gave people a choice to see a plan, Those who said, sure, I'll take a look, no guarantee, but I'll take a look, great, let me tell you what happened to me, opening their mind, then pointing them in information, take them through the process, get the questions answered by other people on the team so that the new person realizes. See, the purpose of doing this, as they're a prospect, they are watching you. They're learning from you, and they're realizing, you know, I don't have to know anything. It appears that Sally doesn't know anything. She just keeps pointing me to these people. Well, I could do that. Great. And when they're done, they say, nope, it's not for me, and you enroll a customer, or yep, it's for me, and then Sally can immediately teach them how to do this because she's already an expert in this part, and boom, you've now got a perfectly repeating cycle. That is the actual effective process of network marketing, following the HOT system, using that to develop prospecting. But the most important thing here is we keep it simple, we keep it honest, and if you look at the two components, from enrollment through the completion of the hot market system, this first stage right here, this is the natural human behavior. Contacting very close relationships and having not a selling conversation, having a personal conversation of, I'm starting a business, I'd like your help, here's what I'd like you to do for me at least one time to help me out. Can I count on you? That's what that previous training hangout will show you. It's a natural human behavior. There is no training of any special skill or talent that has to be given to a brand new person. Once they're 16 or 18 years old, they're perfectly trained in how to do this. This is a natural thing. Anybody who chooses to do this can easily get 10 to 30 trial consumers. No problem. Within 2 or 3 days, if they want to go at it hard, within a week, within a month, they could easily have 30 or 40 if they really want to get serious. We had a college student. She was going through final exams and using texting, using a text script, a copy of which you have, Angel's posted in the group. She developed 103 trial consumers for a $50 skincare product trial move, $5,000 of the product via text in 10 days. She sponsored 18 people during that time because she had all her friends saying, what are you doing via text? She said, making money. They said, how's that work? She showed them the 2 texts that she sent and got people to say, sure, I'll buy one from you and help you out. And then all of a sudden she had 18 people say, oh my gosh, I'll do this with you. So this is a natural human behavior. There's no special talent. You just have to do it. If you don't do it, you won't get the result. If you do, 100% of the people who do it get a result. They get the result. It just works. Coming back over here to the prospecting side, this just works. Conversations is something that human beings have been doing since the dawn of time. Having conversations where you are focusing on someone else, being truly connected with and concerned about them, not you. It's not about me. It's about them. Focusing on them, caring about where they are, finding out where they are, asking questions, listening, sharing with them where you were, asking, say, listen, at the very least, it may not be for you, probably isn't, it's probably not for you, you'll love the product, but would you at least take an hour to take a look so that if it is for you, maybe together we could do great, let me tell you what happened to me. That's having a conversation and telling a story. We've been doing that since we were kids with our friends on the playground. Hey, did you hear what happened to Billy? Hey, when you were going through high school, hey, talking to our parents, talking to our siblings and our relatives. We've been having conversations, telling stories. We're a master of it by the time we're a young adult. If you're older, you're much more of a master. And then just pointing people at information and saying, I'm just going to let you get the same information I got. Point you to people if you've got questions or things or other things to answer your questions, so that once you have all the information, you make the decision that's right for you, yes or no, and I'll leave that to you. That's a natural human behavior. The majority will say no, turn them into the customers. Those who say yes, have them do the same thing you did. This is all that needs to take place. Now, here's what happens. If Lisa, from the moment she prospected Angel, from the moment that prospecting began, if she prospected properly, Angel enrolls right here, and 2 or 3 days later, Angel has done this. Here's what has happened. Angel is brand new to network marketing. She's never done this before. She's only been involved for 72 hours, and already at the 72-hour mark, she's actually a fully trained 6-figure earner. She's just not consciously aware of it. And you, as a leadership person, you could sit down with that new team member after they've completed this hot system and say, Angel, you may not realize this, but you're actually a fully trained 6-figure earner. Now, it's going to take you, 12 to 18 to 24 months of you really being serious about it to achieve that, but everything you need to know, you already know. You're just not consciously aware of it. So let me walk you back through this and let me show it to you. Do you remember when Lisa first spoke to you? She first spoke to you, and she started as a prospective team member. She started talking with you. Do you remember? She didn't do any special pitch or presentation. She wasn't selling you. Remember, she just had a conversation about you, with you, about you, and she just asked where you were in life and what was going on, and she shared with you a little bit about where she'd been in life and what had happened with her. Yep, I remember that. Well, do you think you could do that? Do you think that if we just spent 15 minutes here and talked about the idea of what Lisa was trying to accomplish with you, so that you really understand what her objective was, which was just to give you a choice and to care about you and love you enough to give you a choice in life, which was to take a look at something, not to do it or not, just to take a look at it. Do you think you'd be willing to go out and have conversations with just people you just meet, people you've known for a long time, and everybody in between, just caring about other people? Would you be willing to have every conversation you could, every chance you get, just to give people a choice? Not caring what they choose, and then sharing your story of what you just did in the last 24 to 72 hours, this hot system. Would you be willing to do that? Remember how she told you her story of her first 3 days? You'd mentioned to me that kind of caught your eye. Remember that? Well, would you do that? Would you have conversations, ask people about themselves, share with them where you were, and ask if they'd like to look at a plan and then tell your story about what happened to you just these last few days? You would? Great. Well, do you remember then Lisa pointed you at that DVD or the website, and you began to gather information? Do you remember? Well, would you be willing to point people at that DVD or point them at the video on the website? Or remember she had you first look at that recorded hangout or that recorded webinar? Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Would you tell people to start looking at that just like she told you? And then remember you had questions and she kept directing you to more information, and she even introduced you to some of the team coaches and some of the team leadership, and then she had you go by that local meeting. And would you just be willing, as they have questions, just to do what she did? We'll show you what all the things are. You already know, you've seen it all, but we'll now go through all the list with you and say, look, here's the order. You typically have them do this first and this second and this third and this fourth and this fifth and this sixth. Here's what you do. Just keep pointing them to all these things and then point them to us. And you don't need to know anything. You can go flat out. You can talk to 100 people tomorrow. That's okay. Just ask them if they want to take a look. Point them at that DVD, and then any questions, you just point them at us, and we'll handle all 100. Would you be willing to do that, Angel? You would? Great. Well, I want you to know something, Angel. You're actually special because you said yes, and that's actually the smallest percentage. Only about 2 or 3 out of 10 are going to say yes. 7 or 8 out of 10 are going to say no. Remember when Lisa first told you if you wanted to look at the plan, it probably wasn't for you? Remember that? Yeah, well, it probably wasn't. But it turned out that it just was. You happen to be one of the few that it is the right plan for. So just know going in, most people are probably going to say no, but guess what? Those are the people who get to be your long-term customers, many of them anyway. But then some of them will say yes. Well, anyone who says yes, after we've all done the work for you, would you be willing to teach them how to do what you just completed the last 24 or 72 hours? You would? Well, great. Because, Angel, now you are out there having conversations and telling your story, and guess what? Now they are too. Now you and them are having conversations and telling stories, and as they have more people say yes, and as you have more people say yes, now you and them and a whole bunch of other folks are going to be out there just having conversations and telling stories about how everybody did this simple little first few hours success. And one day you wake up, you keep repeating that, and that's how you get to being a 6-figure a year earner. Now it may take you 18 to 24 months. But that's how you do it. You can get there faster if you choose, but it just means you got to work a lot harder and faster yourself, but that's your choice. It could be slower, but that's also your choice. But you know everything you need to know right now. That's the magic of combining these two aspects, and now you can see it clearly. There's nothing complicated. Phase number 1, the hot system, that's a natural human behavior. Phase number 2 over here, the prospecting process. If you'll stop focusing on selling, if you'll stop saying, I need to get people in my business, no you don't. You need to give people a choice. Now, when you give people a choice instead of get them, you got to talk to a lot more, but it's easy to talk to a lot more when you're not trying to sell them. You feel better about it. You can be more proud of it. You're respecting people to make their own choices. It's more fun. it's less pressure, and it's more exciting. So that's the full and complete picture of the two phases of how to start a brand new person, move them into action immediately, action that will work for everyone who follows. Now, they got to follow it precisely, creating that trust and confidence. So with confidence, they'll go out, trust you, and follow your theory of having conversations about other people, sharing their story, and letting the process do it for them. Let the process work, boom, and then it duplicates and repeats. So there you go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here for just a second, and I'm going to, whoops, let me do this. If I can get to it. There we go. Let me do that. Hang on a second. I'm trying to come off of, oh, hang on a second. Now I know what was happening. Now I can make it work. See, there's a thing. You got to be a little smarter what you're playing with. There we go. I couldn't figure out how to use a Hangout there for a second. Anyway, the okay, great question. We've got a question from someone who says, do these three questions apply to all potential customers or just hot? The three questions that we talked about, those aren't for potential customers. The hot market script, if you've seen the previous section, it'll make sense. There's a different conversation and question that is asked to develop hot market customers, or actually not customers, develop hot market trial consumers. The product experience will turn the trial consumer into a long-term consumer, meaning all consumer products happen that way. Marketing gets somebody to try it. The positive experience of the product gets them to keep using it. There's nothing you and I can do about that. If they have a negative experience, they're not keep using it no matter how good a salesperson we are. So that's what we do. The three questions is how to start prospecting business partners and team members. The three questions we just talked about, that's how to prospect someone to join the team. But when part of your conversation with them is being able to share immediate initial personal success from the moment you enrolled, that's what creates extremely powerful prospecting result. Why? Again, I don't want to repeat the whole thing, because if you go back and watch the first set, then it'll make a lot of sense. But just to bring it into context, one of the number one fears of, hang on just a second, guys. There we go. I'm trying to get the noise stopped. One of the number one fears of people when they're evaluating network marketing for the first time is, when I get started, can it work for me? Will I succeed? If I did buy a larger product package, will I get my money back? It's not about making money. Everybody says out loud it's about making money, but it's not really. Their first desire is, can I get my money back and not feel like I did something really stupid? That's what the hot market is designed to do. Immediately move them from uncertainty and anxiousness and hopefulness to confidence and trust. Wow, you're right, that worked. Boy, that was easy. Anybody can do this. Okay, great, I got it. Now going and having conversations using those three questions, for the rest of your life, you take that hot market success, and that's a foundation of your prospecting conversation. Let me share with you what I was actually able to do with no prior experience, working very part-time in just 2 or 3 days. Here's what happened to me. Because we have a simple, proven plan of success that we help new people start with. Those are the kinds of things that attract people. And so that personal success story is what allows you then to move rapidly into prospecting. So I hope that was the beginning. The question went on, how do you implement these things with a stranger if you find them through social media? Here's the thing: you will never succeed with strangers at all. Strangers don't do anything with you. You have to take a stranger and turn them into a non-stranger. That is a process. That's not an event. That's a process. And so the hot market is exclusively for close relationship. Go back and watch that initial hot market training, and it'll talk about that. Close relationships. People who, if your car broke down, they'd come pick you up at 3 a.m. No stranger you find on social media is going to come pick you up at 3 a.m. So hot market is for close relationship. Story is what you can then use. You can find prospects through social media, but you won't find, it's much more difficult to find customers through social media Social media is better for prospecting people towards the business. Not that you can't. You certainly can, but understand it is a different process. Like all things, if you're truly going to be just a customer acquirer, then if in a person-to-person relationship relatability business, you just don't ever succeed with strangers. The question is, what do you do to take a contact that may have come through social media and turn them into a relationship? Network marketing is relationship marketing. So it can be a new relationship. I've built a relationship with the person sitting next to me on a plane, and sure, I've built a relationship sitting at in a hotel restaurant with someone who sat down next to me and just casual conversation. So, are you here on business or, pleasure? I mean, but however you meet someone, you don't just go, hi, listen, I'd like to tell you something. You ready to buy? That's never going to work. So all contact, remember, is about build a relationship first, then move a relationship along. Whether you want that relationship to become a team member with you or to become a customer of yours, that's always going to have to be the process. So the 3 questions are not for customers, that's for prospects, for team members. Hot market system is for immediate customers through your close relationship circle that is easy to do. And if you say, well, no, this is my 12th network marketing program, they've never worked for me, and my family hates to talk to me, the hot market system is the one thing you can go back to them with, and they're all willing to do that. And that's an easy one, because I'm actually telling them, look, I just want you to do a simple thing. You don't have to do this crazy business with me. And when you go back to the first training, it will explain all that. So there you go. I hope that answered that question. And a couple of the others were basically along the same line. So, well, Angel, there you go. That's the full picture. Now, with that all laid out for the True Believers group, I know we've done this a couple of times before in our relationship with others, but now the True Believers United group has this whole thing, and this is now the foundation of all the trainings we can do going forward to kind of lay that groundwork, moving on into great success over time.
I had some messages come through, and some people asked me, so is that what you're doing? And I'm like, that is exactly what I'm doing. I was blessed, to meet Lisa about a year and a half ago, and so I learned more from her in the smoking section outside of a network marketing event, a 3-day event, than I did inside the event. And you know what? She did exactly what you just described. She asked me questions. She was interested in me, and it was a sincere interest. It wasn't
well, yeah, it wasn't fake. She truly is. She is the most amazing person at 3 minutes, a lifelong friend, and she has no agenda.
Well, and not only that, but the relationship, she was sincere about having a relationship. She wasn't just talking to me to see what how I could join her or what I could do. She actually, in that conversation, said, listen, let me help you. Let me reach out to you.
Let me ask you a question. She has, now, because of timing, you were already involved in something at the time. So she has never, ever prospected you into business.
You know what? People ask me all the time what you and what Lisa and what Diane and what Eric Worre do. And let me tell you, I don't have a clue. I don't know what network marketing you guys have ever done. I don't know what, even if you're involved, you may not be. I don't have a clue.
Lisa and I have a global team, and we have a 7-figure year income. But the reason you don't know that is because Lisa built a relationship with you. She said, she started a conversation. Immediately she said, I like this person I just met. She's I just love her. Yeah. How long have you known her? 5 minutes. I just love her to death. But because of timing, it was better for her to help someone who she said, I want to be friends with her. And now let me ask a question. There's never been the right timing, because it isn't. One day, we can't see the future. 5 years from now, if there was perfect timing, would you want to be a part of Lisa's team?
Me?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But here's the thing. Lisa has friends that she has built in this profession, and I mean great personal friends, top-tier industry professionals, that she's had great friendships now with 12, 15 years, and they've never been in a program together because that wasn't it. She built a relationship, and she has people call her right and left, but she also has people who, because of that, over her 25-year career, she's had people who have been a part of her business when they called and said, okay, something's happened, my company is falling apart, they've gone out of business, I want to be with you. And she had a 12-year relationship, and finally the time was right. So it's not about getting, it's about giving.
That's right. Well, not only that, Chris, but with recently, I've been learning some really incredible lessons, and you know, I'm a firm believer that I don't have, when I make decisions or when I do something, I don't look back with regret, because every single thing is a learning opportunity. I learned that from Lisa as well. And so for me, I've learned that it's about me. It's not about a product. It's not about a company. It's about me, and it's about my people and the people that I love and the people that I care for. And it's about building those relationships and taking them forward. Products are going to come and go. Products are going to work. Products are not going to work. Companies are going to come and go across the board. Not every company is.
Comp plans are going to change. They always do. And that's part of a process. Companies comp plans should always evolve. They need to with changing time. So that's going to change. It's not the comp plan. You don't join your company a comp plan. You build relationships.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so everything is a learning opportunity, and connecting to power is something that I did on a team call last week. And I just have to tell you guys, you just exude greatness. Like you and Lisa, like you've forgotten more.
We had great mentors, and we just copied their stuff and spit it out.
No, and that's what I said last week. Plug into power. Mentors don't have to be your leader in your company. Mentors don't have to be your upline. Plug into powerful people who possess greatness. And for me, you and Lisa have forgotten more about network marketing and relationship building than I probably would ever know.
Well, here's the truth. If you talk to people, sometimes success does weird things to people, and it kind of gets their head a little squirrely and funky, and they go off the reservation. But for those who have had great success, who are pretty grounded, if they're really, truly going to be honest about it, they'll all step up, and they won't profess their own greatness. The reality is I tell people look at my success today, and sometimes they make a mistake of saying, oh, he must be super smart or very special or something. My story is I've told it a million times, I failed miserably my first 2 years because I wasn't listening to anybody. I figured I was smarter than everybody. I didn't listen, and I just figured network marketing wasn't for me. Not everything works for everybody, and I figured it didn't work, and I was quitting. I was actually quitting the profession and saying, forget it, I'm just going to stick to my traditional business stuff. When I met a mentor who basically grabbed me by the throat, slapped me in the face, kicked me squarely in the butt, metaphorically, and got my attention, I was willing to listen for the first time. I really listened. I've got good friends who listened after a month, and they were obviously vastly smarter than I was. So I am not where I am today because I was smart. If I was smart, I'd have figured it out and listened sooner. So I think everybody who's achieved great success, if they're being very honest, they had great mentorship. And their mentors would say they had great mentorship. This isn't complicated. Those of us who have had great mentors and chose to stick with it and apply it were able to realize that they weren't lying to us. They actually told us the truth, and it really worked. For them to choose. And the majority, you have to understand, the majority will not choose. Because I didn't say success in network marketing is very, very simple. Don't ever confuse that with being easy. You want to achieve top-tier result, that's hard work. If you're afraid of hard work, then go get a job at McDonald's. That's easy stuff, doing burgers and fries. Top result, elite result is hard work. Brain surgeon is extremely complicated. Being a network marketing $1 million earner is very simple. It is simple activity with focused commitment. Doesn't mean full-time, 45, 50, 60 hours a week. It means full-time hours. If it's only 5 hours a week because you're getting started part-time, it is 5 flat-out full-time hours. Then that allows you to get to a point where you can dedicate 8 full-time hours, then 10 full-time hours, then 15 full-time hours. So one day you realize in my 20 full-time hours, I've almost equaled my 40 full-time hour job, and this I love and that I hate, so now I'm going to quit that and do 40 full-time hours. That's network marketing. It's very simple things, duplicated. Just make sure you line up with the right mentorship, and then look in the mirror and say, am I really doing it or am I faking it? Because those who really do it, it really works.
I had somebody remind me of a saying that I heard many years ago. I got to see Zig Ziglar on stage at a very early in life, which was a blessing. And he said on stage, he said, focus on results and forget what you think you know. It's like I've been telling everybody this past couple of weeks, listen, don't come to me with struggling, because our videos, our hot market system is being put to the test, not only by people in our team and our company and my friends and that kind of thing, but it's being put to work in other companies, and you have answers right there. You just have to do it.
All over. It works everywhere.
Yep, exactly. Well, as always, Curtis Broom, I love you, and please
love you, sweetie.
A kiss and tell her I miss her, and I can't wait to see you guys next month. I'm so excited about Vegas.
What we'll do is we'll probably start moving to calls starting next week while we're traveling throughout Asia, but we'll get information out to you in the next few days, and once we land in Hong Kong, and we'll set it all up, and then we'll get you so that everybody can dial into it, and then we'll show you how you can plug things in and rock and roll, and it'll be kind of fun.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, you guys rock, and I'm glad that you made it home safely, and I hope you get some rest before you have to leave out, and I will talk to you very soon.
All right, girl. Talk to you guys later. And everybody in True Believers United, but by being a part of this group, that means you're a True Believer United. Love you all, too. Have a great day and a great week and a great week.
Woo-hoo! Thank you.
Woo-hoo. See ya.